Sugarbear. Hi everyone, I am here at Scot's Bicycle Service in Salida, and I'm about to get first-hand knowledge of the new SRAM transmission system. Here we go. Say hi to the JRA fans.
Hello, JRA fans. Welcome. It's like bridge makers and scaffolding.
Yeah, we're getting holes. Yeah,
That's probably where this came from.
yeah, I imagine so because the
Because it's like you pull this off and it's like, oh, that goes right. It's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool.
because they make a like an adjustable wrench with that end for iron workers.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's where it came from.
Yeah. Oh, that thing. Colorado.
Wow, who made that?
Guy in Colorado, he's probably in his 80s. He got the patent. It didn't really sell very well. Japanese.
All right, so PHT, prepare, hang, tighten. Right, and if you follow the rules, you follow the instructions, it'll go perfect every time. So, in prepare, PHT, prepare is you're gonna install your stub spacers. For no matter what crankset you have or bottom bracket set you have, you will always have a 3mm on this side and a 5 or a 7.5 on this side. So if you have a traditional 68, 73 MTB threaded or PF, whatever, it'll be a 3 and a 7.5. But if your bike is MTB wide, it'll be a 3 and a 5. This bike is not MTB wide, but the drivetrain is designed around chainline 55. So all transmission cranksets are MTB wide.
Yep.
So chainline 55. That means that the cassette is 2.5 millimeters more outboard. That means that the drivetrain is more outboard. Most new bike manufacturers are redesigning their bikes to be a MTB wide or chainline 55 frame, and that gives them, with the absence of a front derailleur,
Yep.
it gives them a lot of room back here to make new pivots. So a good example is the latest Yeti product. All their bikes are chainline 55 specific. And that's because they built all kinds of new stuff down here. Now they have room to do all that stuff.
Yep.
All in all, just use our dub finder on our website. It's arguably the best tool in the arsenal. Tell you exactly what you need there. And then install your crankset. Nothing has changed here other than you have a 8-bolt instead of a 3-bolt before. Same, no new crank arm technology. This is hollow core carbon. This is the one that we fill with wax and then we wrap the carbon around the wax. The XX version is our foam core, which is still carryover from former mountain bike cranks, and then the XO of course is aluminum. All the chain rings are 8-bolt. In XXsl you get a thread-on power meter, spider-based power meter. For XX and XO, you get a spindle-based power meter, which is on this side. So it's single side, but still very accurate. Additionally, if you have flight attendant and you have override, and you have your pedal sensor normally, the power meter in transmission replaces the pedal spacer, or excuse me, the pedal sensor for flight attendant.
Oh wow!
And that's because in the future there will be things where related to your power output, your wattage, your suspension may want to do certain things. So that replaces that. There are, I think, 17 SKUs between the three, SL, XX, and XO. And that's with or without power meter. 3 different crank lengths. All of them are available: 165, 170, 175. They all come with the carbon cranks come with boots. The XO ones do not. And like I said, the XXsl chain rings are not bash guard compatible. And one thing to note about SL, SL is not e-bike compatible. And that's because everything on it is super light, not designed for the 8500 Newton meter motors that are out these days. XX and XO are e-bike compliant, as well as we make e-bike rings and crank arms for various motors.
So like a
Bros, TK, whatever, Molly.
The Rocky Mountain.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We can do any of those. Additionally, on SL, the cassette down there, the top 3 cogs are aluminum and the bottom 9 are milled from 1 block of steel. On XX, the bottom 9 are milled from one piece of steel. The 38 and 44 are stamped steel and then aluminum on top, and same with XX. And I've got those over here. So that's an SL there. So those top 3 cogs are all aluminum. There's a XX. So these are stamped steel, and that's aluminum. But also, more importantly, notice the jump, right? We used to be 36, 42, 50, or 52. Now it's 44, 30. Now it's 38, 44, 52. And we only have one option for cassettes. So the 1052 is the only option that we make in transmission. And then the XO and the XX cassette are the same cassette. So this is these two are the exact same cassette. This just has the nickel finish on it.
Is a nickel finish for
it's a hardening process.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the XO kit, for in terms of bang for the buck, the XO kit is going to last the longest. You know, again, having these top 3 cogs be aluminum, you're going to see more wear. We're of the opinion that most people that are going to run SL are probably wearing spandex and racing cross country. The XX and the XO are really going to be more focused for your regular rider, enduro riders. You know, the SL is just, everything around it is designed to be the lightest absolutely possible. Now, you'll notice this red ring.
Yep.
That's our setup cog. And so we have a whole new way of installing a drivetrain. And when you lay the chain on the bike, it goes on the number 7 cog. We count from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 21. And we set up we'll set up most situations on the 21. There are a few that may set up on the 6, which is the 24 cog, but that's called out in the instructions. Another thing you'll notice now is that the cogs are all X-Sync 2. So before they weren't, now they are all narrow wide technology, as well as you have 16 off and on ramps here. We call that cassette mapping, and that is because the derailleur knows where it's at via firmware, and hardware knows where it's at in space, and will only allow the chain to move in certain places.
Oh, that's so cool.
So some people have said, hey, there's a delay, and that's true. It's intended to be, but it's a 16th of a revolution, so it's not that much.
You can see the narrow line on edge. That is really cool.
And of course, still an XD driver. No change there,
Yep.
but because it's intended for chain line 55, it is outboard 2.5 millimeters. Still cassette ring, lock ring tool. Make sure it's at least 7 to 8 millimeters of depth engagement. Pretty cool stuff there.
That is.
And here is the XX crank. So full aluminum in the German testing center. We actually hooked this up with pedals and shoes and figured out where all scuffs and damage to a crank arm happen, and then they polished it all away, and that's what's left. So this crank is actually designed to not ever get wear, because we've figured out where all the wear happens and made it anywhere that there may be wear is super high polished to keep it clean. With XO, chainring options are 30 to 34. With XX, 30 to 36, and with XXsl, 34 to 38. Of course, they're all 8-bolt, so the chain rings are interchangeable. So, for example, that's an XXsl hollow core carbon crank arm, but an XX32 because I'm just not fast enough for a 34. The bash guards are chainring size specific, so if you look carefully, it'll say 32T. And there's the 8-bolt pattern there.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Just different materials.
Yeah.
These are different materials.
Can you bolt a quart power meter like the one that I have onto?
No, because this little wavy pattern is different than yours. So I actually have a picture of it on my phone just for that exact question. If you look at your 8-bolt pattern, it's not wavy, it has notches. And this is like wavy.
Oh, yeah. Yep. This is more organic.
Just remember that these are chainring size dependent. So if you go to a different chainring size, you have to change these.
This is on the inside.
And then you may have noticed that the system is called transmission, but everything within transmission is a T-type component. So you'll see T-type, T-type. Everything says T-type on it, and that's meant everything T-type works within T-type, but not outside of T-type. So long story short, there is no backwards compatibility to old stuff. There is no old stuff forward compatibility to transmission. We didn't get rid of anything else. We added 3 new systems to our already, robust catalog. The only thing that does work, because we didn't change our wireless protocol, is your controllers are unilaterally totally fine.
Good.
So drop bar, gravel, legacy eagle, all that stuff will work forward and backwards. The pods for transmission are backwards compatible. We're still sending 2 radio signals. Nothing different there.
Oh wow, substantially lighter.
Isn't it insane to hold?
All these bits are all rebuildable. This one, the only thing you can rebuild is the setup key and the cage and the pulleys. So you'll notice it's all carbon fiber here. We've moved away from a 12 to a 14 tooth pulley there. To get rid of to change out your pulley wheel or whole assembly, simply push down and it comes off.
Not like the old X9 when it would like.
This is usually
do
not a
this
good
and,
thing. This is a bad This is a really bad thing. Like when this happens on the trail, that's bad.
when you installed
that's the
X9
cage lock.
cage, and you would try to push,
Yep.
like twist it on, and it would like catch your finger and like.
So we no longer call that cage lock. That's now called your setup key. If you go all the way out, you still have cage lock as indicated by that little padlock, but now we have setup key in the middle. And because you'll notice there's no limit screw and there's no B gap, you have to know your setup key. And so all bikes will be an A, B, and a select few will be a C, which is for high idle, low idler pulley bikes.
Oh, okay,
like
yeah.
a Forbidden Druid or something. So you'll notice here I'm indicating a B.
Yep.
If I had to change that, I would simply move the cage out of the way, push this out, flip that hash mark over to the A position, bring it back in, and now I indicate an A position. Here, again, none of this stuff is replaceable on XXsl, but as we move over to XX, here, still have a replaceable cage, except this one is not carbon fiber. You still do get magic wheel here, and you get magic wheel on the SL. We'll show you how that works when it's on the bike.
That's the clutch.
Correct. But you can replace these, just that, or the whole assembly. You can replace this setup key. You can replace the pins and this entire plate system here. They're very heavy and slippery. They're hard to hold on to.
Very well here.
This whole shroud here is replaceable. The bolt, the bushing, and the knurled ring here are all replaceable. So it's, probably, I would say not since the 1996 Paul's rear derailleur is there a derailleur that's as rebuildable as this. And then going into XO, XO is all the same except different materials, of course. So everything looks very similar. Everything is rebuildable. But more importantly, for customers that just have a lot of free time,
I have no clue.
you can change and mix and match.
Oh.
And so people are like, well, what about colors? Well, perhaps in the future that's something that we can do. But for today, XO, the only real difference is that it does not have magic wheel. However, how easy would it be just to whip this thing off
swap cages
and put magic wheel on it? Or you can also buy a magic wheel separately.
That's what I was gonna say. You can just buy magic. The pulley.
You just buy the magic wheel separately. They're the same thing, just a little bit different top plate. And so the way these work on the infinity clamp is you can peel that off. Everything under here is that's all the same no matter what you have. CR2032 battery underneath. This is all the same. The only thing that's different is the tops. So here on the XO, you've got this style, a little bit wider buttons, no silver graphic. And on the XX, you've got this little silver graphic and these different style buttons. All these come with 2 sets of buttons. These are concave, and then they also come with a second set that are convex. And when these are new, they will have these little red adhesive tabs. We say don't pull those. They don't actually pull out. You have to peel the thing off and rip it off. It's 3M adhesive, and so that once you figure out which one you like, then you can make it more permanent like. The advantage of the infinity clamp is it can be mounted 8 different ways. So the way this works is you have a little keyway here, snaps in like that. You know, your 22.2 standard bar. So it can be underbar outboard, it can be underbar inboard, it can be underbar more inboard, underbar more outboard, and then overbar the same way. So we call it the infinity clamp.
That's cool.
And like I said, it can be anything you want. We don't make lefts and rights, we only make one. So if you have more than one on a bike, like this one, if you were pairing everything together here, you would pair this one first. The system will automatically say, okay, that's your shifting, and your second one, they'll assume is your reverb and your flight attendant override. So for example, if I hit this top button, hold for a second, puts me into override there. And then of course, I'm in the stand, so it's not gonna work, but you'll see the light there. That's my reverb.
Oh, wow.
And then once it's all paired in, then you can go into your app and you can say, okay, I want that to be my upshift, I want that to be my downshift, I want that to be override, I want that to be reverb. You can mix and match to your heart's desire. But initially, if you're gonna run 2 pods, you have to put this one and say it's the drivetrain first, so that it knows that you're gonna have a second one. Just because there's no left and right.
You know what? I think Matt actually might like that because he's always wanted a blip on each side, like an upshift, a down, or whatever, downshift, upshift.
Yeah.
And then you could do that. Like your top buttons could move your derailleur up and down, and then your bottom buttons could be your other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, set it up however you want. I've messed around with these. I have them pretty comfortable to where I like them, but yeah, they can go anywhere. Bolt in there, just switch to a steel bolt. Just like metals will never gall, and you'll be fine. But then you won't be able to complain about it. Can't make a YouTube video with a 4-foot breaker bar. Next in our PHT, prepare, hang, tighten, we're gonna prepare by installing the cassette. It's still XD driver. We're gonna put that thing on there. 40 Newton meters, just like always. Our advice is to use anti-seize on the threads. So,
And that's a snap on.
next in our prepare phase, we're gonna pair our controller to our derailleur. Nothing different there. Pairing sequence hasn't changed. So the last thing we need to do in our prepare phase is to cut the chain. And one thing I want to show you is all of us in the past, you take the chain out of the box, you toss the box, and you toss this thing in there too. Everyone does it, but we want to try and change that habit now. If you open up this little piece of paper, which no one's ever done before,
I have the first time I did because I wanted instructions on it, but it was like
so we give you a chain map here. So the way that works is we're going to put this thing right here. And we're going to say that this chain isn't cut. What we're going to do is we're going to use the app. And if you don't have a smartphone, get one. But if you don't have one, you can also scan the QR code on the box. You can also go to SRAM.com or Access Web. There's 5 or 6 different ways to get to the chain cutting diagram. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay the new chain here, right on that map, like that. And then we're going to get out the app, and we're going to go to Access here. So hit that button, wake it up. Hit that button there, and it should either connect or tell me to authorize it. I'm surprised it should already be connected, but we've been messing about with it all day. So I'm going to press and hold this button here until it goes solid, and then a slow flash. And hit authorize. And that's going to bring up every component on this bike. All right, so there we are. Now you'll notice here, so there's all the parts and pieces that are in there. I have now a 4th line, System, Guides, and Resources. That's what we're going to hit. And you have installation videos. So if you don't want to read instructions, or maybe you can't read, that's cool. We have videos and you can watch. So here, what? Some people never learn to read. Don't judge.
I'm not judging.
So we're going to go to chain length. And what's the bike brand? Well, this one's a Giant.
It's one of 650.
And then bike model. This is the Trans X Advanced Pro. And then it just added another line because it knows which bikes has what. So it says, are you in low position or high position? So I have mine in the low position.
Will that make a difference in chain length?
It will. But it also, more importantly, makes a difference in sag because of what your wheel path is. And then frame size, I'm a tall guy, so XL. And chainring size, I have a 32. So I've given it all the data. It's over in Germany in the office there. It's one guy's job to have a relationship with all the manufacturers to know chain stay length, wheel path, kinematics, everything, and he puts all that into here. So last week on day of launch, there was over 650 UDH frames available in the market, and now pretty much every frame moving forward will be a UDH frame. You know, so it's going to be incredible. So hit calculate, and there it goes. My setup key is a B, my chain length is a 116, my setup cog is a 21 tooth or the number 7, and that chain length will accommodate a 30 or a 32. So we're going to use a 32.
So is there any chance with a single bike that if you moved your suspension from high to low or low to high that it would change your chain length?
It's possible, but it depends on how drastic the travel change is. So then we're going to come over here to our chaining map, and if this was a new chain, we would come down here to the 116, see, and it says cut here, mark it with your Sharpie, cut there. So no, in the old days, before last week, you would put the chain on the frame, line it up, big, +1, +2 inch, whatever, then you would take it off, cut the link, and then you would put it back on again. Now you only have to put it on once, which is really nice.
And you're just measuring what you're going to cut off, not the whole length of the chain.
Because all our chains are 126. So if you go to the end and then you go back to 116, you'll cut it there and you're good.
That's very easy.
So again, prepare, hang, tighten. So we prepared everything. PHT, which is the hang part. So here we have a bushing. We want this to be absolutely dry as possible. No lubricants, no grease. This should be dry and clean. It looks like a top hat. The brim is outboard. So that's gonna go in like this. Then the RD comes up here, and I'm gonna put it into cage lock all the way out. And then the only thing we are gonna grease are these threads and that shoulder. So if you got whatever grease is closest to you, we have no recommendation here. So any grease is fine. We're gonna go get in there, get in there. More thumb muscle needed, or more grease needed. Oh, the yellow one, that's what I meant to get. Oh, and lovely Derailleur grease. All right,
Motor X.
yeah, you know that's Derailleur.
I know, trust me.
You know it's Derailleur.
It's ski binding grease.
Okay, so I'm in the cage lock position. I'm gonna bring this right up here and slide that in. Grab my 8mm hex tool, and we're gonna install. We're going
so the bushing to frame is dry.
Right, absolutely dry.
Bushing to dry.
Here it's tight. Now I'm gonna go back one full turn, and that should allow it to hang. Next, I'm gonna take my wheel, install my wheel, take the maxle, install the maxle, and tighten the maxle one full turn, or excuse me, all the way until it's tight, and back it off one full turn.
So,
and then the last part of our hang phase is to hang the chain. So remember, flat top. So you have to mind that it's a flat top chain now. Flat top chain goes here onto our setup cog there, and our derailleur is probably not in the right gear. That's all right. We'll figure it out. So but we want to be on that setup cog. That's what's most important. And what's really cool is if we go to our app, the app will tell us what cog we're in, so we can correct that if we need to. Wake it up. So I want to be in the number 7 cog, and it ships in the number 7. So for a new installation, you don't really have to worry about it. So if we click on that sucker here, let's see. Yeah, we're in number 7. Sweet. That's all we have to do there. And then we're going to connect with our power lock, which is somewhere over here.
Your brand new power lock.
My brand new power lock. They are a one-time use. The real ones are black. This is the pre-production one, so it's silver. And we're going to just rotate that forward so that we can close our power lock. So there's our power lock there. And our power lock is closed. In the old days, we had to lubricate that, and it doesn't matter anymore. Next, we're going to go to our setup position, which is the middle position now. And we're going to hold this back like this, and we're going to go backwards to make sure that our chain is synced up on our X-sync teeth here. Okay.
And the power lock is engaged correctly.
Right. And now we're in the tighten phase. So we're going to take this, our 8mm, and we're going to tighten this to 35 Newton meters. So you grab your torque wrench with your 8mm. We'll go 35. And what you'll notice here is these match marks line up. So that's your double check. That's your double check that those match lines line up. So you'll use your torque wrench, you'll go to 35 Newton meters, which is really tight. Then you'll come over here and you'll tighten your axle to the manufacturer's specification, in this case 12 Newton meters. And you'll pull it out of setup, and it's ready to ride. You are finished.
We had a very person ask me the other day, you know, why would we switch to the standard when it makes it getting your rear wheel in and on and off so much more difficult? Not the case. Now that your derailleur is set, you can take your rear wheel off without any additional difficulty, as long as you're torquing it back to spec when you put it back on.
Because the nut is holding the derailleur onto
the knurled ring.
Frame. Yep. And there are no standards in the bicycle industry. There never have been. We have a whole bunch of sizes.
Yeah, and that's that.
So it's eliminated
All hangers.
the B
gap.
the B gap, or a movable B tensioner. The B knuckle would move.
Right. So there's no more B gap anymore, and there's no more upper or lower limit screw, because it knows where it's at in space.
On destructive testing, what failed?
This plate. So we still have the clutch that moves it out of the way. You know, you can still hit it and it moves out of the way.
Okay.
However, this can withstand an impact of 1,350 pounds of impact force. Yep. Our friends at Fanatic Co. up in Bellingham did a great video, completely independent, where they did destructive testing, and they built this big pendulum with weights on it, and they rammed it, and they finally got it to break, but it only broke right in that skinny part right there, and that's a $22 replaceable part.
So that's the fuse.
Yeah.
If it's in the bigger cogs, the cage will not move into the spokes.
No,
under
and so
impact.
if you look at the rear cage profile, you'll notice that it looks like it's bent.
Yep.
So the derailleur is farther inboard, and it's higher off the ground, and the cage is actually bent to keep the chain in line.
Yep.
But everything here is designed to keep it tucked up under here. So when you are way up in the big cogs, your derailleur is really well hidden in there.
But if you have an impact here,
all that will happen is this will rotate up like that. So just like a UDH was designed to do. So the UDH was designed to ramp the derailleur back and bring the chain up off a ramp onto the 10 cog. And so the way you sort this out is all you have to do is, if you're not comfortable pushing it back down, you'll simply loosen your axle and it goes back into place. Check your match marks, they're still perfect. Retorque your axle to the manufacturer's specifications.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's back to good. Here's the other test that I like to do. You'll remember with prior XXsl, people would complain, or people might see the chain riding on top of the car.
Yeah.
That's 100% a B gap issue.
Yes.
100% solvable, but people they wouldn't do the correct order of operations, so the B gap would suffer. So I always had people do the B gap test. If you did it right, you should be able to rotate your cranks backwards violently, right? So now, if we, did this right and everything is where it should be, I can rotate this backwards violently. And it's totally fine.
Yeah.
So that's the test.
Can we do the stick in the pulley thing?
Oh yeah, grab a blunt object. Grab a screwdriver. There you go. So wait
Put your finger in it.
Wait till it's got a little momentum.
That's what. Wait.
So you're hang on. What's the name of the trail on S Mountain?
Which one?
Which one?
Or whatever. Pick one.
North Backbone's the one that kills derailleurs the most.
All right. So you're on North Backbone. You come around a corner, and oh shit, there's a stick.
Do you feel it? Like, can you feel the?
Yeah.
Is there
And
more?
so you would know, like,
Okay.
you're like, hey, I should probably slow down and stop.
Yeah.
But it didn't damage it.
It's essentially like a. It feels exactly like what it's doing. The plastic spinning on the bearing.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the SL is actually aluminum here, and the XX is Derailleur, and there's no bearing. It's actually like a bushing.
Bearing, but
Yeah.
Sugarbear.
Don't take my word for it. Go ride it.
Thank you. That'd be funny footage, though.
Are you shipping like an asshole? Pulled the roof off, put a new roof on, and left. She flipped the kitchen, pulled the bar out, and then went.